Hi everyone, it's Shar and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so I actually have so many videos of Not So Berry and even 100 Baby Challenge to put up on this channel, but just to be transparent with you all, I'm in my busy season of work where I have 4 or 5 or 6 meetings in a single day and so many projects to take on that usually by the end of the day, your girl's exhausted and I record for over an hour playing a Sims, but I do love sharing the videos with you all. Speaking of, I made 100 videos on this channel, which just makes me so excited. I just enjoy playing The Sims, and sometimes like really funny things happen, or I really like the storyline, and I wish I had someone to enjoy it with. And that's what this channel is all about, because playing The Sims is truly my escape when I'm having anxiety, or I'm stressed out, or I just want to have fun. I will record one of these videos, and I'll tell you that one of my favorite challenges to play so far is definitely Not So Berry. It's just really fun to play the game in that way, and I have storylines kind of set up all the way until we reach our gray generation sim, which I'm super excited about. But I can't believe we've been playing Not So Berry for almost a year, but I can because I definitely have taken breaks. But I digress. So I recently had my game kind of reset because I had to do some arranging in my laptop with kind of how my editing software was set up. I send a lot of my documents onto the cloud, and the cloud is actually what stores my documents and how I'm able to have so much like mods and CC. And it's because I don't store anything on my laptop at all. It's all on the cloud. So what actually happened is that my editing software was having some issues when I edited, that it was just like creating glitches and it was freezing the frame and it was skipping the audio and like repeating it. And that just made it super frustrating for me to edit because it would take so long just because I couldn't actually hear what I was saying, and I worried that you would hear the skipping. So finally I did something about it. I contacted customer support and they helped me rearrange things, which is a very long way of saying because I rearranged things, the Sims re-downloaded itself. Thankfully, like I said, I backed everything up to the cloud, so I didn't lose anything. I just kind of put it back into the folder. But what that means is that one of my save files actually did reset itself. So if you watch my Not So Berry series, which if you don't, I encourage you to watch my Not So Berry series. It's really fun and I just enjoy sharing it with you all. But if you watch that, then you will know that I named my daughter in Not So Berry Arden Rose. And I named her Arden Rose after my Sim self's daughter. So the first time I played The Sims, I had this Sim self and she had a daughter named Arden Rose Styles. How nerdy am I going to be here? I'm going to be very nerdy because I'm going to admit to you that she's Arden Rose Styles because my Sim self had a baby with Harry Styles, as you do when you first start playing The Sims. Anyway, Arden Rose is a Sim I ultimately did not play with because my Sim self also had a lot of freaking kids. She had 7 kids. And I was like, girl, real life me doesn't even want 1 child. How did you go and have 7? So that save file did reset itself, and Arden Rose was a teenager again. So I had the chance to play with her and I was just really excited. And because I was super excited, I downloaded a ton of CC. This story is literally pointless, but be honest, you're not actually watching this. This is playing in the background, right? That's what I do with any kind of speed create a sim, speed build, etc. It's just background noise. You and I are having a conversation, except I'm talking and you're listening. Okay, so I downloaded a bunch of CC for her. It's made me really excited. And as I was playing her, I looked at her and I realized she looks like me, and she looks like all of my other Sims, and her husband, who initially looked very different when they met, that's also a very funny story, eventually started to look like all of my other male Sims. I got very distinct Micah James vibes from him, but Micah James is also very distinct himself in terms of like his features. But I realized so many of my Sims look exactly the same, even when I intentionally work to make them not look the same. When it comes to the NPCs, I think that there's more like diversity in their features and kind of what they look like. But if it's Sims that I am actually playing, they tend to look like variations of me and like variations of my type. And I don't know, that made me like laugh, but it also made me sad a little bit because I realized like I have such an ideal standard of beauty just in the way that I play. Not that I don't think my other Sims aren't beautiful, because obviously I do, but in the way that I play, I definitely have a preference for who I like to play with and how I like to play them. So that prompted me to do this challenge, which 5 minutes into the video, which hopefully you read from the title, I decided that I wanted to play with some of my new CC, but I also really want to challenge myself to create Sims that do not look like Sims that I would normally play with. And that's mostly in their features, because I tend to play with Sims across the spectrum in terms of like race, ethnicity, skin color, a body type, etc. In my own free time. You only see a couple of my challenges, so bear that in mind. But when it comes to their features, all their features do tend to be very distinct in how they look. So I decided that I was going to create Sims and challenge myself to choose items and choose styles and choose skin details that I normally would not pick. So we ended up with our first Sim, Sonia, and Sonia is really, really cute. She's definitely adorable. I changed some of her features, and she does not look like any other Sim I have in my save file, but I think it's going to be fun to just kind of see her walk around. None of these Sims have backstories, by the way. Usually when I do these kind of builds or these kind of create a Sims, the Sims do have a backstory, but that just wasn't the case for Sonia or for our other Sim, whose name I am already blanking on. And really the whole idea was I want to create a Sim that I would normally not play with. And then we have Ezekiel here, and Ezekiel is an alien. He's a Sim I normally wouldn't play with, not because of his features necessarily, because I love his features, and if you see my Let's Plays, I tend to like men that look like this, but in terms of the fact that he is an alien, that's an occult I don't really play with. I don't tend to play with occults in general. But also his skin being blue, I really, really loved. He has these awesome scars, which I adore. I love his backstory. If you watch Teen Titans, and you'll know Starfire's backstory, this idea that she's a princess from this warrior planet, and everyone there is a warrior and super tough, and you take pride in that. And that was kind of the storyline I was inspired by with his scars. But of course, skin details tend to cover up most scars, and I think by the end you really lose it. There's some faint scarring you can see through the skin details, which I figured just made it seem like the scars were really, really old and they kind of faded over time. But eventually, in the end, we do lose them entirely. I think at some point I just forget about them because I make him look the way I would want him to look. But I do try to give him some unique features. So his eyes obviously are very different in terms of what's is actually in his eyes. What I want to say his contacts, not his contacts, his irises and his pupils and things. His ears, his nose shape as well. I add a tiny little overlay from the Pixis thing to kind of make his nose shape a little bit different. And what I really focused on here, as you saw throughout the video, is adding these kind of smaller skin details to the Sims that just kind of add defining character. So you see his little mouth corners, the dip in his mouth, a little shine above his lip on his cupid bow, the pink flush. I actually really like the way it contrasted with his blue skin. And then I played around with facial hair, but he didn't really suit facial hair. He has a little bit of stubble, but it's there. And I have so many of these hairs that I love, but in comparison to my female hair, which I have so many of, male hair is really, really lacking, and that's just in general with CC, especially alpha CC with male hair. There's not a lot of variation, but I love this idea that he has very kind of grayish pink hair because there's no pigment in his hair color. That kind of makes him what makes him stand out, but his eyebrows do stay black, and I just considered that a little bit of an alien feature. And I was torn about how to dress him, okay, because I wanted to use Get to Work because aliens obviously come with Get to Work, but I didn't want to put him in a big bulky spacesuit. It doesn't look right. I don't want him to look like that, and I don't imagine that Sims on Sixum walk around in that way either. But I couldn't, there's no alien style. I'm using air quotes as if you can see me. You cannot see me. But there was no alien style, so I'm I don't know what to do. So I want this idea that everyone on Sixum dresses really, really, really formally. There's no such thing as casual wear, and he becomes a perfectionist Sim who is adventurous, and he's neat. Now, he's adventurous because he really wants to explore Earth. He loves new adventures. He loves exploring new things. He loves finding new people. He knows that Earth and the Sims world is definitely a thing, and he wants to go out and explore it. So he has this human disguise, and the human disguise I did actually have a lot of fun with. Not the eyebrows. The eyebrows went a pain in my butt. You can see how many I go through and how much I have to tweak it just because of his natural face shape. This is not what I imagined him to look like in his human form, but I actually really enjoyed that he turned out that way, because it's like he has like these pinky eyes, and you see it at kind of a greenish overlay, and then his lips are very pink. It's like he's trying to present himself as human, and where I have the most fun with this and is in his skin details, where I make him look almost doll-like. Like there's no realism in him at all. There's not like any skin details, any markings, any texture on his skin. It's almost like glass. He's very smooth, almost flat in his features, and I just so enjoy doing that and having fun with him, kind of making it seem like he was trying really hard to be human and appear human, so much so that if you looked at him, you're like, huh, why are your features so flat, in terms like there's literally no texture on his skin, and the details and definition that you see he's putting in with his makeup. So you can see like with contour, he's adding contour to his face to add color. He's like, oh yes, humans have this kind of color. And his nose, he like puts blush on it so it always looks super pink, and then highlight it because he's like, ah yes, humans always have runny noses. And I don't know, it's just adorable. And then I leave his eyebrows black because, again, I just like it. And then he has super blonde hair, just kind of a nod to the fact that his natural hair color would not have pigment. Not that blonde hair doesn't have pigment, but it's the closest thing he would get to it. And he wants to blend in with the human world so he can have his adventures, have fun, and explore. So we have our basin again. Remember, her name is Sonia. And then we have Axel, who's just super cute. Just, again, Sims I would not make. And then we have Ezekiel in his alien form and eventually in his human form. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye everyone!